is going on. So over the years, dividends continue to be paid to those shares. So what we are saying is, if you know that you bought securities, you bought shares at that time in names that are not yours, we have given, opened a window where nobody is prosecuting you or anything. If you can prove that those are your shares, you can get those shares back now, and then you can claim all the dividends.
The Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, has said that the Buhari administration has justified all of his debts by constructing various infrastructures around the country. Fashola stated this at the closing ceremony of the 28th National Council of Works meeting held in Kano, adding that the ongoing initiatives around the country have justified indebtedness, particularly when compared to prior government's efforts. The Executive Director and the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Export Promotion Council, Dr. Ezra Yakusek, has announced that despite obstacles experienced by farmers and exporters, Nigeria sold items worth 1.77 trillion naira to different parts of the world between January and June 2022. According to the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Yakusa has stated this in Abuja at a recent press briefing to announce the half-year performance report of the agency as well as the non-oil sector. Power generation companies have blamed low power generation for the inability of the utility firms known as DISCOs to pay up to 2 trillion naira debt owed them. This was revealed by the Executive Secretary, Association of Power Generation Companies, Dr. Joy Ogaji, at the Association of Energy Correspondents of Nigeria annual conference held in Lagos on Thursday. While speaking during the session with the theme, Power Sector Dilemma, Issues and Challenges and Opportunities and Strategic Key Solutions, she argued that the GENCOs were not owed 500 billion naira, as been reported, but 2 trillion naira. Nigerian Insurers Association has revealed that the Nigerian insurance industry generated 560 billion naira from businesses written in the 2021 financial period. The outgoing chairman of the Nigerian Insurers Association, Ganiyu Musa, disclosed this in Lagos on Thursday. At the meeting, new executives were announced, and Olusegun Mosheyin emerged as the new chairman of the Nigerian Insurers Association. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Issa Pantami, has stated that the federal government is committed to the development of the digital economy. The minister also praised the country's constant rise in ICT contributions to GDP, which reached 17.92% in the fourth quarter of 2020 and the first quarter of 2021, and has remained on an exceptional trend. The minister stated that the performance of the ICT sector is unprecedented, even without the calculation of digital services. Dr. Hassan Mahmoud, Director of Monetary Policy Department at the Central Bank of Nigeria, has said that the present global shocks have been exacerbated by inflationary pressures from disruptions to commodities and is beyond the control of any economy. The combined impact of these shocks means a continued focus on managing crisis, a high risk of secondary shocks, and a diversion of investment in the economy. Take a listen.
To take adjustment. So the global shocks are what we refer to. The things that are not caused by you, by the global, you are not a contributor to those development, but because those that were affected by those development will have to take policy decisions to address those developments in their own economy, it will, by extension, contagiously come to impact on you. And you also in your own economy will have to also be adjusted. So you see the global economy responding to different shocks and that's why there's always the need for coordination for policy response. So issues around globalization, as let us come together, we have common challenges, let us see how we can effectively address those challenges in our domestic economy without necessarily impacting negatively on the generality of the economies of the world.
All right, let's quickly take a break, and when we come back from the break, I'll be taking you through the market actions for the day. Of course, the Nigerian exchange has started trading. It started that about 2 hours ago or thereabout. I'll be taking you through the overnight market actions in Asia and a lot more, but all that will be when we return from this break. Don't forget to join us on all our social media platforms. And in case you haven't registered for PABAM, the Personal and Business Acceleration Masterclass, go on our social media pages to do that right now. It's absolutely free. It's coming up on the 17th of September 2022 at the Nigerian Export Promotion Council Hall, where we'll be taking you through a lot of stuff around business processes and all of that. So in case you're a business owner, you've got to go register on our social media platforms. And in case you're also interested in your personal development, head over to our social media handles to do that. I'll be right back.
Do you want to live your life financially free? Do you want to take your business to the next level and succeed? Then the time is now. Moneyline with Nancy on AIT presents a free one-day personal and business acceleration masterclass, a live conference geared at revealing top secrets by elite business experts and life coaches in Nigeria on ways to improve yourself, business, and create wealth. Date, Saturday 17 September 2022. Venue, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Maitama, Abuja. Time, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Attendance is free. Visit our social media handles to register: Instagram and Facebook at Moneyline with Nancy TV, Twitter at Moneyline TV.
For more inquiries and sponsorship, contact 0814-833-9088 or 0906-691-2600
or email us at info@moneylinewithnancy.com. Proudly supported by Be there.
All right, welcome back. Let me just get out of the bag. What's making me laugh? I had said earlier that I'm a Chelsea fan. In fact, let me read the message that just got to me. How can you be supporting Chelsea, a team that has been sold and resold several times, leaving top of the table Arsenal? I wouldn't say who that person is, but of course, that's the message that I just got. But in essence, I'm just a football fan, and some of us are Chelsea fans are really die-hard fans. Just the same way, you know, I support football clubs in Nigeria. Whenever I can, I try to watch, you know, our own national league and the football. But it's not just about football that I'll be talking this morning. I'll also be looking at sports generally. In fact, the message is from the GMD of that communications, let me say that, so I know why he's interested, you know, because he's also part of sports development in Nigeria. So GMD, I'm a diehard Chelsea fan. All right, let's quickly take you through the market. I'll be going over to the wall for that. The equities market on Thursday ended bullish with the benchmark All-Share index in the green. It rose by 203 basis points to closed at 49,661.87 points, while the year-to-date return remained positive at about 16.26%. And the market capitalization settled at 26.79 trillion naira, as you can see right here on the wall. We saw the market bread closed positive with 18 advances and 11 decliners. Let's quickly move ahead. The traded volume was at 226 million. So bullish performance on Thursday was largely influenced by the increase in buy interest on Airtel Africa, which rose by about 7% on Thursday to 2,040 naira. The volume traded increased by about 35.15% to 226 million, as I mentioned earlier, million units that were traded, while value traded decreased by 18.08%. The most traded stocks on Thursday include the Mutual Benefit, FBNH, and Access Corp. While MTN Nigeria, Nestle, and Airtel Africa topped the value chart. Analysts are expecting that today's session is expected to see a return of bearish sentiment. Let's see what happens. All right, if we move over to the money market, interbank rates remained in the upper band. The system liquidity remained fragile. The open buyback, which is the OBB rate, fell by 33 basis points to 14.67%, while overnight rate remained constant at around 15%. We're expecting that in the absence of significant inflows, interbank rates are expected to remain elevated today. If we cross over to the Treasury bills market, it was quiet on Thursday with only a few transactions taking place across a few maturities. The benchmark yield remained unchanged at 8.06% on Thursday. And on average, analysts believe that the Treasury bills market will remain bearish unless there's really a major positive catalyst. If we cross over also to the FGN local bond market, it swayed sideways on Thursday with buy interest seen across selected maturities, particularly the 2042 and 2050 maturities, and sell interest mostly concentrated on the short-dated maturities. Mixed sentiments are expected to linger today. Let's see how that goes. For the Eurobond market, it was bullish on Thursday with buy interest seen across the board. As a result, the average benchmark yield fell by 18 basis points. When I say 18 basis points, what I mean is 0.18%. So don't think I'm speaking too much grammar or I'm being a bit technical. 0.18%, that's what I mean by 18 basis points. So it fell by 18 basis points to 11.72%. We expect a similar showing in today's session. Let's move over to the currency market, where we saw that the Naira gained 8 basis points on Thursday at the official window against the US dollar. That's the official window, the I and E FX window. It reached 430 Naira 67 kobo to 1 greenback. All right, let's move over to other markets. Okay, what you're seeing right here, what you saw actually there is the trade at the NGX earlier this morning, just over 300 deals there. All right, moving over to the United States, stock futures fell on Friday as investors awaited Fed Chair Jerome Powell's speech in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And nonetheless, we saw all of the major averages are on track for their second consecutive week of decline. The Dow is on track to fall 1.2%, and S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite are expected to fall 0.7% and 0.5%. respectively. Investors are hoping for new direction from the Fed on how it will act this autumn, but expectations are low, with many expecting Jerome Powell to reiterate the Fed promise to slow inflation by raising interest rates. Earlier this morning, European markets were mixed as the world's attention turned to the United States Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell's speech at Jackson Hole Economic Symposium. Well, looking forward to that to see what guidance will come out from there. All prices rose early Friday on signs of improved fuel supply. Okay, guys, commodities, what's gold doing? Is it up or down today? Okay, gold is down at 1,751 there. Natural gas is up at $9.50. All right, let's quickly take a break to bring in my guest, Tony Bitoye, the press attaché to Team Nigeria Commonwealth Games. We will be talking about how our performance was. Of course, it was fantastic, the best outing ever in 72 years. But can we continue on that trajectory? Not just, you know, for all the sports, because I know we concentrated on 9 sports or so. I think it will be giving us more details on that when we return. You can send your questions, your comments to us on all our social media handles. We'll be right back. Hello everyone, I am Nancy Naju. It's been many years of sitting and interacting at this Moneyline with Nancy's table, dissecting, analyzing and proffering solutions to the world's economic problems, most especially in Africa and Nigeria. This table has granted me access to the world's smartest people, technocrats, policymakers, problem solvers, enterprise leaders, and more. This time, I chose not to be alone at the table, but to bring you to a free one-day personal and business acceleration masterclass conference so that you can gain the skills, the knowledge, tools that you need to maximize your business and personal life. You don't want to forge on unequipped and unprepared. Join me and awesome speakers to help prepare and equip you for the next level of growth. You can visit any of our social media platforms to register or scan this QR code. I look forward to welcoming you all. All right, welcome back to the program, the Press Attaché, Team Nigeria, Commonwealth Games 2022, as well as the Special Assistant Multimedia to the Minister of Youth and Sports, Sonidare, is joining me here at the table. Mr. Ibitoye, welcome to the show. Tony Ibitoye, welcome to the show. Good to have you. First time on the
on your show, yes.
yes.
I follow all the time. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. You're welcome. Where should we start from? I think I should start from the mood that the Commonwealth Games, our performance at the Commonwealth Games. In fact, it uplifted the mood of many Nigerians. For me particularly, I was happy. In fact, I can't tell you how crazy I went when I watched Toby Amusan's Amushan. They said the Ogun State people have told us how to pronounce the name. Toby Amushan's performance. In fact, you needed to say, I went berserk. I was shouting, what? You know, because it was like we saw quite a whole lot of, well, okay, it could be a fluke and all of that, and she showed us what a champion she was. Apart from that, other gold medals that we got, very fortunate for us also female, which we'll come to in a bit. But it uplifted the mood of many Nigerians, and that shows you what sports can do. Can you just give us like a post-mortem of how that games went behind the scenes, because you were there. What we were seeing, a lot of preparation goes like a TV show, a lot of madness goes on behind the scenes, but people see the glamour on television.
And we don't understand how much work went behind the scene.
Yeah.
I mean, if you felt this way in Nigeria, you can imagine what we were going through right there on the spot. And in the whole of the UK, in the whole of Birmingham, you could imagine what we were going through with people, you know, Jamaicans wondering what happened to their team. How did you guys, you know, perform this feat? And, you know, that final day, it was a beautiful climax for Team Nigeria. To be with gold early in the morning, then the 4x1 guys against all odds, bronze, and then the girls barely making it through to the Commonwealth Games in 16th place, you know, winning gold, and then Ese Brume wrapping it up for us with gold in the long jump. It was such a beautiful ending for Team Nigeria, and a lot went behind the scene. We have to give credit to a lot of people for the different roles that they played. Before I go into the details of how the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports, through the federations and elite athletes department and the Nigeria Olympic Committee, worked behind the scene on the same page to produce that, I think the first commendation will be to Mr. President. People do not understand what happened behind the scene. We were at some point almost not going to the Commonwealth Games because the funds were not just there to prepare and to get the team ready for the games, you know. It was Mr. President's intervention that took us to Birmingham. And with the benefit of hindsight, that was a masterstroke. We wouldn't have been able to get the records, the best performance ever that we're celebrating today, if Mr. President didn't intervene and provide the funds that we needed to go to the Birmingham game. So let's give him that credit as being the engineer of that success. And then, you know, the Nigeria Olympic Committee, the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports, through the federations, elite athlete department, also did something for the first time. There was a lot of science, a lot of reliance on data in the planning. Because usually the Commonwealth Games is, we went with the smallest number of athletes in a long time. And it turned out to be our most successful performance. And that was because the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports and the NOC worked on data to identify our areas of strength, to identify where we had comparative advantage, to identify where our athletes are in the top 10, the events in which they are the top 10 in the world. And so it was a lot of battle with the federations that eventually didn't make it to Birmingham Games because everybody wanted to be there. Everybody had athletes that they felt could go in there and push for a podium finish. But because the funds were not readily available, we just had to work with the data to identify those sports where we had the advantage and where we could, we were strong in our push for medal finishes. And we eventually went with 9 sports. And the interesting thing is that all 9 sports got close to picking medals. 7 eventually picked medals. The 2 that didn't pick
realized
medals.
to semi-finals
Judo
or so.
got to semi-finals
Yes.
and lost bronze medal matches.
Yeah.
So with a little bit of luck, all 9 sports would have had at least one podium finish or the other. So at the end of the day, that strategy, worked. And I think the credit would go to the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports and the Nigeria Olympic Committee for working together on the same page to use data to identify where we had athletes in the top 10 in the world and where there are times with a little bit more push, a little bit more luck, preparation and support could be getting us on the podium. And you remember that just a few days before, Tobi Amusan had for the first time earned a gold for Nigeria at the World Championship, the first ever. And Ese Brume, on the final day, just as it was on the final day of the Birmingham Games, they produced that result for us, the best performance ever for Nigeria at the World Athletics Championship. And that momentum motivated Team Nigeria, motivated the athletes, and those 2 ladies, they are what they did in terms of pushing their other colleagues. You saw Tobi in the 4x1. After winning gold a few hours earlier, coming to for the 4x1, and then they were able to achieve that. So it was all-round success for Nigeria.
So many things to learn, I think, so many lessons from that. Not just even the athletics championship that was just like a few days before the Commonwealth Games. And I hope that even for young people, Tobi Amusan, Ese Brumes, and even the ladies,
Ophili, Rosemary Chukwuma,
all of them, even the guys too that won bronze medals. I hope that sheer tenacity, focus, discipline. These are some of the things that I took away from watching those ladies. But from what you said, that means that there's still a long way to go concerning sports. And that's also why I'm looking at it. We would have done this earlier, just because of the timing, because I recognize that sports is an economic sector. Has the ministry recognized this? Because if the ministry has recognized that sports is an economic sector, it's not just a social stuff.
It's no longer just recreation.
Yes, it's not recreation.
It's business now.
It's a big business.
It is.
Around the world. The Serena Williams, the Usain Bolts, a lot of the football
If you
clubs.
ask anyone what Jamaica is known for, apart from the reggae music, Usain Bolt is the first name that probably people will mention.
So is there recognition of this? Because I also heard you say, Mr. President, Mr. President. What exactly was the issue with the sports ministry not having adequate funds? Was it that the Ministry of Finance did not approve, or they did say
Nancy, you know the way it works is that you prepare your budget and then government gives you what is available and they tell you prioritize what you can do with what we've given you. So that's the issue with the funding. We can always do with more funding. And that's where we should be looking at the business side of things. Interestingly, the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports, a few years ago, I think 2020, was able to get the Federal Executive Council to approve and reclassify sports as business, which for me is huge. It's quiet, it's a silent move, not too known to everyone, but I think it's revolutionary if we are able to follow through all of that process with the introduction of the National Sports Industry Policy that will encourage the private sector to be a part of all that we're doing in terms of the funding. Before I go into details, let me just say something about the boys. People talk about the boys as if they didn't measure up as well as the girls. But you see those 4x1 boys, they are all students. All students. Some in the first year in the university.
In
NCA, in American universities.
Okay.
Some of them freshmen, some of them in their second year. So that should put their achievement in proper perspective.
But that also shows a hole in our educational system. Because even the Tobi Amusans, they're in the US.
They are in the US, absolutely.
So would they have performed that same way in Nigeria? And that's
with the facilities here and all of that.
Those
are the issues. Those are the long-standing issues which we should begin to look at holistically in terms of being able to attract. Funding has always been the issue because Birmingham, for example, most of the facilities that were used for some of the sports were in the University of Birmingham. And they are world-class facilities that some of the best athletes in the world were using to prepare and train, and they had no issues about it because it was world class. So you ask yourself, apart from maybe our first generation universities like University of Ibadan, apart from Awolowo University, ABU, Port Harcourt, and a few universities, do we have facilities to produce? Well, the University of Port Harcourt have a high performance center and all of that, but can we conveniently say our universities are able to produce this kind of facilities that world-class athletes can train with and be able to compete at the highest level? So these are some of the issues that we need to talk about. And then, as we highlighted, funding and reclassifying sports as business, for me, is one of the legacies of Sunday Dare as Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports. And right now, as we speak, the National Sports Industry Policy, which was produced in conjunction with the Economics Summit Group, NESG, yes, is such a wonderful document that could turn things around for us in terms of getting the private sector to be involved in funding sports. It's right now, the last time I checked, with the Ministry of Justice, because they have to vet, they have to make inputs. But I think one of the things that the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports, Sunday Dare, is trying to push is that before he leaves office, he's able to get that document over the line so that that can be in place. And that document, I think, July 2020? It's been on for a while. You know the way government works. 2 years. That's a long time. You know the way government works. Government works slowly. Sometimes it looks slow. But then maybe it's efficient, and at the end of the day, when you cross the line, you know... Sometimes not efficient. And sometimes maybe not efficient as well. But I hope we're able to... It's really pushing for us to be able to get this over the line, because that is key to getting... You know, you were asking if our success was just happenstance. Yeah. We were asking if it could be repeated. Just raw talent from those people. Let me tell you some of the things we've been doing that I hope we can be sustained, even if Sunday Dare leaves office. Maybe the next person that will be there can also build on it and be able to get across the line. There's the Adopt initiative, yes, where the Honorable Minister is driving for well-spirited, wealthy Nigerians, corporate bodies, state governments, to pick those top athletes with the potentials to finish on the podium. The Blessing Oborodu in wrestling is another top-class athlete, silver medalist at the Olympics. Odunwayo Adekuroye, I mean, how do I call it? A serial winner, champion at the Commonwealth Games, African Championship, and all of that. State governments picking these athletes, adopting them, providing some funds for them. Not enough to take care of all that they need to do, but enough for insurance, enough for their coaches, enough for training, traveling, and all of that. Between $10,000 and $20,000 for each of these athletes, the foreign-based ones, and then the home-based ones when they are in camp, giving them the support to be able to take care of other needs so that they can keep their minds on improving themselves and getting into the top of their different sports and being able to compete. I hope that can be fashioned into something that is sustainable, because in the last 2 years, we've been able to raise close to $500,000. And you know how much that is when you convert it to Naira. From the Adopt initiatives, and it has taken care of basketballers, it's taking care of special athletes, it's taking care of Blessing Oborodudu, Ese Brume, and some of the top athletes that we have in the world. And Tobi Amuson as well. Ogun State, then we have Delta, then you have Park Kensington, Adebutu, a lot of Dangote, Baba Jebu, and there's some banks, you know, a consortium of banks providing funds. That has helped to leave some of the burden off the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports. Because if you ask the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports to provide the funding for all of the athletes, to train and all of that, and with the little ones that they have to prepare, the Team Nigeria as a whole, there will always be a shortfall. So that's what I hope we can sustain, make it a part of the structure for funding, and then see if we can achieve more results.
The question of sustainability is there, but the other question for me is that, can we even continue on this route? Because at the end of the day, if sports is looked at as an economic sector, as a business, I think that we should be able to be fashioning our minds. Because even when I'm watching the games, different games, not just football, the Serena Williams now, Serena Williams wants to retire. I'm like, oh, I didn't want her to go. She's an enigma. You know, things around sports marketing and all of that. If we are beginning to have that mentality, I think things will begin to change. But the question is, why are we also seeing private investors or private investment not? There's a kind of apathy in terms of investment in Nigerian sports industry, because the policies, government can just wake up this morning and just announce something. Or someone doesn't like your face, the minister doesn't like your face, and something just, you know, scatters. So how can we build a very attractive sports sector that can protect even, that can even attract private sector and protect their investments?
You know, Nancy, the truth is, the private sector would be willing to fund and provide some of the resources we're talking about for our sports development, grassroots sports development, if they are also making profits, if they are in business and they are surviving and they are not struggling. It's when you are not struggling and you have some extra that you can begin to think about.
That's when the business environment is friendly.
When the business environment is friendly, which is why I hope we are able to drive this sports industry policy over the line, and then create that environment for them to be confident that whatever they are involved in, whatever they do with sports, has some benefits for them. That industry policy is pegged on, you know, incentives for those who are going to be investing in sports, is also based on providing infrastructure, and it's also providing, it's also, you know, those are some of the pegs for the industry policy. Because when you are going to be involved in providing infrastructure, you're going to be involved in providing incentives and some of the other things that are going to be involved in funding for our sports, there should be some benefits for you in terms of waivers, in terms of tax holidays, rebates, or ability for you to get single-digit loans, soft loans from the banks because of what you are doing.
Is that embedded in the NSIP?
Everything is embedded inside the industry policy if we're able to drive it through. So it's a whole, because those who put it together from the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports and the NASG did a thorough job. It took a long time to fashion all of this together, and they are private sector people, so they know what they want when they want to commit to developing sports. I think that's a lot more sustainable for us. But you have raised the point, Nancy, about government policy and all of that. That document, I mean, should be watertight so that private sector investors can hold on to it and be able to stand even if another government comes. It's in place already, and then you know what you are getting yourself involved in, you know what benefits are coming to you, and you are able to activate it, because they also have to hold this document and activate that, look, I'm doing this, I should be entitled to this at the end of the day. For me, I think that's a lot more sustainable for us to be able to drive through, and I hope that my boss, the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports, who is working really hard, because time, it's running out for this administration to, you know, end, and it's really doing his extras to ensure that we're able to get this over the line and then put something in place as a legacy for private sector investment in sports.
You said something earlier, which I also mentioned at the beginning of the program, that I know that nine sports were concentrated on at this Commonwealth Games. And you mentioned something that got to me in terms of a lot of data and statistics went into all of that, in terms of where are we really best at, or what are we best in terms of the sport. And I think that was also a novel approach to taking a look at it, and we did well. But the issue now is that, is the ministry also considering
the other sports?
The other sports. And these 9 sports, I hope it's not like putting the other sports at the back end. But I also know, even as a private sector person, that you've got to put your best foot forward.
Of course.
Jamaicans are known for racing. Kenyans are known for long distance.
No longer. Kenyans are beginning to.
Yes, no longer.
They're everywhere now.
I'm telling you.
They're doing jumps, they're doing throws, they're doing short sprints.
Nations are like studying. Why are Kenyans and Ethiopians in charge of this long distance? And they are also trying to.
The Kenyan won 100 meters at the Commonwealth Games.
Yes.
The men.
So what I'm trying to say in essence is that these 9 sports and the other sports.
Absolutely.
And what other sports are they really?
Oh, absolutely. You know, when you look at the sports that didn't go to the Commonwealth Games, badminton, handball, volleyball, they are also sports where a lot of effort is being made to, push them to the top. The federation presidents are also pushing. Badminton, for example, the president, I saw him at the Commonwealth Games, and he was lamenting that some of the athletes that other countries brought to the Commonwealth Games, we have athletes who were better ranked in Africa and all of that. So it was just a pity that we had to cut down to just 9 sports because of the other issues around it. But I think the way forward for us is provide an environment where all the other sports that didn't go to the Commonwealth Games would also be encouraged to begin to produce athletes that can challenge, move into the top bracket in the world, and then push for podium finishes in international competitions.
The other question I'm also interested in is that for those athletes that won at Commonwealth Games and all of that, they're supposed to have prize monies, I think $5,000.
Yeah, they got
it
right there at the Commonwealth Games.
Okay.
Gold medalist got $5,000. Silver medalist $3,000. Bronze $2,000. And then the relays, the team sports, also everybody. Immediately you finish your event and you have the medal a day or two after, the Federal Ministry of Sports will come. That was part of the funds provided by Mr. President, the intervention fund. So it was captured, and then they got all.
Why I needed to ask, what plagues our sport that it will take how many years before?
I know. This one's got it right there at the Commonwealth Games.
Including the $100,000 that Toby and Co. because of.
Toby's $100,000 is from World Championship.
Yes, I know. Athletics.
That one she got it after her race.
Yes, I know.
No, but the funds were there, and they got it right there at the end of the Commonwealth Games.
Is there anything the ministry is doing to allow that the president can meet these athletes? I don't know if
Yes, there's going to be a presidential reception on the 15th of September.
Okay.
You said something that is very key. And if you followed Mr. President a few days ago when he was receiving the 10-year football master plan, President Buhari has more than just passing interest in sports. And we thank him for that. There was a committee set up to plan 10 years ahead. I mean, he told them at the beginning that, look, I'm not going to be president in 10 years' time, but I know the power of football. Now the power of sports, what it can do. So let's try to safeguard it and take it as a national asset. And so he said, look, put this plan in place. Let's try to work towards it. So on the 15th, Mr. President is going to be receiving Team Nigeria athletes to identify with them and also send a message across to private sector, to everybody, about the strength of sports as a unifier. And if anybody wants to do anything that cuts across religious, ethnic, political considerations, then your investment should be in sports.
I just hope that Mr. President is also considering, I'm a bit biased, that women did well.
Yeah, the women carried us.
Yes, the women did carry us.
They've been carrying us for a few years. The men did it so many years ago.
It's
a cycle.
Now you're shutting me down. I shouldn't say what I want to say.
I'm trying to
but I
give an impression that
it
was Team Nigeria.
Team Nigeria.
So
but it also brings to the issue that we should include women. You can't go wrong with women investment. It's shown everywhere. You can't go wrong. I don't think that sports should be different.
I agree with you. The last Olympics, our medalists, Blessing Oboro, Dudu Esebrume, women. World Championship, Amushan, Esebrume, women. Commonwealth Games Birmingham, all gold medalists, women. So absolutely, the women have done so much for us, and they deserve all the accolades.
Accolades. I hope that they will be naming streets after them, because immediately I had to
Mr. President, I'm sure.
Mr. President, better all the streets in Abuja that many Nigerians don't even know the names of the people. Please, I know you people are listening, so let it be considered, because they've done something that
they have absolutely.
A 72-year-old feat that the whole stadium went agog.
Yeah.
And now Nigeria, even though we're having economic challenges and difficulties,
we forgot about it.
We forgot about it, and these athletes really, brought Nigeria to that echelon that
I'm sure right now in the Federal Executive Council, the minister that works with the shoulder highest amongst all of them is my boss, Sunday Dare, because what is done in terms of the public projection of Nigeria in the last couple of months, it's
and I hope
amazing.
that whatever that will be promised to them will not take them 30 years to fulfill. Like we saw, you're a sports person, so you know what I'm talking about. Many years ago, I think 1980.
Yeah.
They got what the government
It was,
promises.
it was President Muhammadu Buhari that fulfilled the promises that were made to the team. 1994 Super Eagles, 1985, President Buhari fulfilled those promises. So if he is making the promise now, I'm sure the promises will be fulfilled immediately.
Okay, what's next for us? Olympic Games 2024, then there's Africa Games 2023.
Africa Games next year, Olympic Games in Paris 2024, preparation should begin in earnest. We can build on the success of the Birmingham Games in terms of being able to identify our strong areas now, invest more. These athletes now have to go for a lot of international competitions, compete with some of the toughest teams in the world in their different categories, and, you know, funding at the right time. Funding must come at the right time for these athletes to go for international competitions. And then we keep them there in the top 5, in the top 8, in the top 10 in the world. A little bit of luck as well, you know, so that when the tournaments come, we have the Africa Games next year. Later this year, we have the National Sports Festival, which is our own. Efforts must be made to discover athletes at the National Sports Festival. Yeah, identify potential medalists, identify young athletes, begin to invest in them, and then see if those ones can also replace some of the aging ones and become future champions for Nigeria.
The major denominator in all of this is money, is funding, is financing, and I hope that the Ministry of Sports, you know, be the anchor, because it depends on what the government is saying and the coloration and the body language of the government, that private sector would have that confidence to say, okay, this is what we are
investing in. You're even discussing this on your show, Nancy. Is a positive step for sports, you know, because people follow, and then you have your influence as well in the private sector. So you could always tell anyone, if you're looking for where to invest and you're not afraid that there will be political considerations or religious considerations or ethnic considerations or whatever you will do, sports. Yeah.
And as a sports fan myself.
A Chelsea fan.
Yeah, a Chelsea fan. And those days when I was in secondary school, I used to run, you know, 100 meters, then the relay, you know. But let's see, I just found myself sitting here. You know, so thank you very much for coming on the show. I'll continue to look at it. Of course, another discussion will be this 10-year football master plan. That will be another edition of the program. Thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you, Nancy.
Coming. All right, I've been speaking with Tony Bitoye, who is the press attaché, Team Nigeria 2022 Commonwealth Games, as well as the special assistant multimedia to the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports, Sunday Dare. We've been taking a look at sports development. That's the much we can take on today's edition of the program. And this week, please join us again next Monday. I'll be here bright and early. Thank you all for your company. Be the best you can be. Be the change you want to see. Have a fantastic weekend. I am Nancy Naji. Bye now.